That was truly, truly fascinating. And we are now joined by Specialist Recruiter for the Royal Navy, Lieutenant Adam Thompson. Hello, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, morning. How are you? I'm good, thanks.
Good, good, good. Great to have you with us. That was a great session. It's always pretty inspiring when the Royal Navy gets involved, just the scale of the stuff that you guys do and the sheer variety.
Yeah, it's as they said in there more than once, everything is different every day. We never have the same day twice, which is really engaging and really rewarding as a team, to be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. We've already been getting loads and loads of questions in from the audience for you. But before we get into that, what was it that inspired you to get involved in the Royal Navy in the first place?
Well, I was always someone who never wanted to do the same day twice, really. The idea of moving the same bit of paper left to right for 40 years in a career didn't really excite me at all.
Yeah.
The idea of being able to travel, the idea of seeing the world, of working with a close-knit team and being able to develop yourself on a routine basis is the most attractive thing about it, and it's all true. The guys have said it in the videos just now. The camaraderie, the opportunity to expand your horizons, both education-wise or as a person, and with the people around you as a tight-knit family is absolutely true.
And of course, the travel element.
Yes, the travel element is brilliant. We're all over the world, as you see in the news. The Navy's deployed all the time, 24/7, every day of the year, everywhere from the Middle East to the Far East, Atlantic, over to the West. It doesn't really matter. We are out there somewhere doing something useful.
So what are the education requirements for somebody who wanted to get involved in the Accelerated Apprentices program?
So the Accelerated Apprentice program is our fast track program that starts you as a leading hand. So you start 2 ranks higher, and then you're other sort of people who join at the same time. You need 48 UCAS points in a maths and STEM subject, whether that's A levels or whether that's through a BTEC or whatever. It doesn't matter as long as it's sort of STEM and maths related, and as long as you've got GCSEs in maths, English, and science.
Okay, fine, brilliant. So GCSEs and 48 UCAS points, doable, brilliant. Okay,
Yeah.
well look, I'm going to get straight into some of the questions that we have been having from the audience. So you've just touched there on what some of the educational requirements you need. I like this question. What fitness levels do you need when you first join? Do you have to be sporty?
It helps. I'll be honest, as I've also said earlier on, the training is difficult, it's physical, and the fitter you are, the faster the day goes and the easier it is to get through it. To be honest, the fitness levels are all on our website. It's an open book exam. You undertake a bleep test normally, or a 1.5 mile run, and it's graded by gender and age. So instead of me just giving a figure, I think you check the website for your own age and gender.
Okay.
You'll know exactly what your standard needs to be.
Okay, God, bleep tests bring back some really painful memories of my school days. I've got a good question here from somebody saying, I wear glasses. Are there still lots of jobs that I can do?
Yeah, there are. We have standard medical sets. So if you are interested, speak to your local careers office. They will be able to advise you on your eyesight requirements. But glasses aren't a stopper for most roles in the Royal Navy.
Okay, that's good to know. We've been hearing, from lots of amazing companies and lots of amazing apprenticeship schemes today. How would you say, though, that the Royal Navy's on-the-job training differs from the sort of equivalent that we might have been hearing about in the civilian world?
We throw you in on day one. As you've heard, the guys there do 80% on the job, 20% learning. It's a fast rate of education. You need to be able to absorb it and move on pretty quickly, and then you apply it at sea from a very, very early phase. So we're putting you straight out onto ships that are getting ready to deploy or are deploying. They're not training ships. That's the Royal Navy's front line. And as soon as you're out of your phase one, we throw you into it.
Yeah, it's quite a fitting analogy, throwing people into the deep end when they join the Navy. That must be quite daunting, though. Did you find that daunting when you first joined?
Yeah, even as although I'm not an apprentice, I'm an engineering officer. It's the same principle. It is daunting, but you live with these guys and girls literally at sea. You're all inside the same boat. Excuse the pun, but you just absorb it and you work with it together. The team forms a bond. You see each other all the time. You don't go home at 5 o'clock if you're at sea, so you're all around together and you work together and you really make a difference.
That camaraderie must be pretty special. We've got some more questions here. Do we need to be submerged on the training? As I'm nervous of this. What's it like? So that's obviously being a submariner.
So not in terms of getting dunked in the water. There's no real requirement for that. There are some swimming tests, obviously, because we do spend a lot of time in and around the water. So if you can be, the stronger you can swim, the better you'll cope with it. We don't have any real reason to get dunked in generic training for any reason. There's only specialist requirements if you're, say, aircrew or something like that, and there's a risk of needing to be rescued. But for most of us, no, we don't spend a lot of time underwater.
Okay, fine, yeah. And this is quite a good one. Can you move around to different roles within the Navy? We've seen the different types of engineers that are available, but yeah, how much kind of flexibility is there in that area?
So once you're in your branch, you're streamed in your branch, as we've seen for sort of AE, air engineer, marine engineer, weapon engineer. But inside those, there are other subsections. So if you are really into networks and computers, for example, in the weapon engineering branch, you may find you prefer to be in the kind of the information system section, and you'll deal with networks. You might be more into gunnery, which means it's heavier, it's more mechanical, and then therefore you'll deal with gun systems. Same with the marine engineers, really. That some are electrical, some are mechanical. So depending on what your kind of preference is for and where you find your interest, that's no doubt where you end up streaming yourself down to.
You must be working on some of the most cutting edge technology in the world. That must be one of the best bits about it. I mean, how do you stay on top of that? I guess you're constantly in training the whole time because there's always a new weapon system coming online or upgrades to the equipment you're using.
Yeah, the engineers are always busy with upgrades and with equipment, particularly when we're home, because before we go away again at some point, the ship will have upgrades and new stuff added, and it's always an opportunity to learn. As I said at the beginning, the best thing about it is you're always learning. You're always keeping yourself fresh as a person. You never get complacent because you haven't got time to. But it's interesting and it challenges you, which is one of the joys of the job. We are always upgrading equipment, but you are trained for it. They send you around training courses to make sure you know what you're doing. It's not you don't just approach it with a spanner and work it out later. It's not quite what we do.
Yeah. So what does a typical day look like for an apprentice?
So they'll be busy in terms of seeing what's going on around the ship. They're involved in everything they're doing. So it's not just a day of walking around with a tool set and fixing things or checking systems. You know, when you're away at sea, you're also part of the fire party. So if we have an incident on board, you will assist with ensuring the ship stays safe, that it can float, and that we can deal with the incident. As they said in the VT, you know, when you go back along shoreside, you have other duties that involve keeping the ship safe and secure, or the submarine when you're also alongside in the jetty. So it's a real team ethos. One day you might be doing engineering in the morning, and you may be hands-on taking things apart. In the afternoon, you might be seeing how a planning meeting works, to understand what the wider department plan is, and then later on that afternoon, you might suddenly find yourself doing a fire exercise. So it goes back to the point that the day is never the same.
That's wicked. So what have been your highlights? I mean, how long have you been in the Navy?
So I've been in about 10 years now.
Okay.
I joined in 2011. So for me, the travel, I was lucky enough to deploy with the Queen Elizabeth in 2018 and 2019 to America for her first deployments. Sort of the highlight, seeing Manhattan from the back end of the Queen Elizabeth was very impressive. Yeah. But everything from some people who are really into their sports, you know, whether they play grassroots sports for the local ship or establishment, or they represent the Navy. Some people spend a lot of time representing the Navy, or even UK Armed Forces as a whole, playing sports they're good at. So if they're really into football or rugby or cricket or anything, we've got ski championships every year where you go for 2 weeks, and sport is not classed as holiday. It's part of your work time, so you don't have to spend any holiday to do it.
Oh, that's ideal. The sporting matches between the Army and the Navy are pretty legendary. The Army and Navy rugby match is I think that used to be televised even. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's become, I think, the biggest, if I remember right, it's the biggest non-professional sports match in Europe now, because it fills Twickenham.
Wow.
When we can fill Twickenham again.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry, it's coming back soon. You mentioned working on the Queen Elizabeth. That must have been pretty impressive. Am I right in thinking that Queen Elizabeth is the most advanced warship in the world?
Yeah, it's definitely one of them. along with our Type 45 destroyers, which are the most advanced air defence platforms in the world, which we'll see later this year when the Carrier Strike Group deploys for the first time. The Queen Elizabeth will go with UK ships and with an American ship as well, and with some other allied partners. So part of the sort of global Britain view that we're seeing now. We're working with our allies all the time, and that's one of the things you'll find is you might be on a British ship, but you'll have exchange officers from other places, such as I've worked alongside people from New Zealand, Australia, Americans, the French. I've had a Dutch exchange officer as well. So you learn a lot about other nations and other cultures as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. We've had some more questions. Here's a good one. If I became a marine engineer or officer, how much time will I spend on boats? And what's it actually like to live on one?
So it varies a bit. Officers tend to do a bit less sea time because we have to work around other pillars of the Navy. So we have to go and look at policy and personnel and kind of all the other pillars that make up the support process for the fleet. The apprentices do a lot more time at sea to start with to get their sort of engineering standards up. But as they go further up the chain through leading hand into petty officer and chief petty officer, they'll find a lot more shore drafts as well. The living on a boat or a ship, depending which one you choose, is a real family orientated type of focus, as I said earlier. Sometimes you have to work long hours, sometimes you don't. That's just the nature of it. But there's always downtime. You'll have film afternoons or flight deck films, where they'll get a barbecue and they go on the flight deck when we've got time and the weather's nice. It's probably a key component for that. But then you get a film up for the evening and have a social evening with your mates. Put some shorts and a t-shirt on instead of wearing the uniform, and make sure there's some good downtime. Film nights in your mess. Whether you're a junior rate, a senior rate, or an officer, there's always film nights in the mess, or there's routine, sports events. We've got television, so if the football's on or rugby's on or whatever, you can go and get that if you need to.
It sounds fun. It sounds like a lot of fun. So for all the young people out there who are thinking of applying, what would be kind of the number one bit of advice you would give them?
I would always say, be as fit as you can be. The training, although as pointed out, it's not the most arduous, but it is physical. So the fitter you can be, the easier you'll cope with everything else that goes on around it. The training is trying to teach you to be able to be busy and to achieve what you need to achieve at the same time. We can't simulate some of the real stresses, so we just have to make you a bit tired. And therefore, the fitter you are, the easier you'll cope with the physical aspects of it.
Okay, that's good advice. And then going forwards, if people do decide to go down this route, what can they achieve with the Royal Navy? What can they be aiming at?
The career structure is promotional. So if you apply yourself and you work through it, you do the right thing, you'll get promoted, you'll move up the ranks. There are opportunities to jump from the non-commissioned ranks to the commissioned ranks if you want to go officer, if you've joined as an apprentice and think later on, actually, I fancy trying that instead. There's options to do that. There's professional accreditation you can get through the Navy normally with discounted prices as well. So because we're actively encouraging our engineers to become professionally accredited with the relevant institution, there's all the stuff like travel and sports and all the extra bits we've already discussed are all tacked into that as well.
Okay. Now I've got one final question from the audience, which I think this is a really good question, and I've actually been wondering this myself, specifically relating to the submarines. How does the Wi-Fi work underwater?
Submarines are unfortunately it doesn't have Wi-Fi access.
It doesn't have Wi-Fi.
No, well, when we're underwater, you are away and you are underwater, which I know. I'm sure for some people, I'm not a submariner, so I can't comment on it personally because I've never done it. But I'm sure sometimes you haven't got that. You can focus on what you're doing as well, and it might make it even easier. I'm sure also there's harder aspects to it as well.
You just if you want to watch stuff, you just download it before you go on board. I imagine that's probably that's what you have to.
There'll be a big library of videos on board.
There'll be a big library. Yeah, there we go. Fine, brilliant. Well, look, thank you so much, Adam, for joining us. It's been really great talking to you. You've given loads of great advice, and hopefully you've inspired another generation of Royal Navy apprentices. So thanks to you.
Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Brilliant. That was great from Adam, and really interesting from the Royal Navy. Now, you may remember at the start of this session, we asked you to get involved and vote on our poll, and we have got our results. Whoa. Okay, so we asked you what it was that kind of excited you most about joining the Royal Navy. Travel opportunities. absolutely smashing it. No one's that bothered about job security, which is fine in the Navy. Sports and adventure training. I think that, having spoken to Adam and got even more of a sense of how much sports and adventure training you actually have, I think that would probably go even higher up in the graph. Being part of a team is a big part of it, and learning new skills is great. But yeah, all about the travel, which is totally understandable. A completely unique job in that regard. Right, now, for one final time today, I am delighted to welcome back to the live stream our very special guest, Tanika. Hey, Tanika.
Hello again.
Yeah, you all right?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Thanks for joining us. Now, we've done it before, but there might be people who've just joined us. So just very quickly, can you just reintroduce yourself and tell us a bit about what it is you do?
Of course. So I did an apprenticeship, and that took me to my career as a forensic scientist. I'm one of the first in my field without a degree, thanks to that. And then I went on to compete with WorldSkills UK internationally. And because of those experiences, I'm just hoping that I can share those and get other people to have the same opportunities I did.
Great. And you've been with us all day today. There's been some pretty inspiring talks, right?
Some fascinating industries. They're so impressive as well.
Yeah.
In fact, speaking to the Royal Navy then, I think there was one common theme that he kept mentioning, which was obviously there were personal attributes that they look for in an apprentice, which is just your motivation and, you know, your attention and good values essentially. Which I think is just really an advantage of the apprenticeship, because you come into the industry as a blank canvas, you're surrounded by experts who are then going to mould you into what you need to be. Yeah, so I think that was really interesting.
Definitely, and I think that has definitely been one thing that I've kind of really taken away from today as well. Speaking to all these people, you know, it's such a, the easier route really when you think about it is just to sort of follow everyone else through college and then just, you know, potentially go to university or go into a job in the normal way. Doing an apprenticeship and meeting, you know, everyone that we have today, I think it takes a really motivated type of person, and it shows a level of ambition and a kind of desire for excellence, which I think people probably underestimate in the wider world.
Definitely.
What's been your favourite talk from today?
Oh, I'm not sure I could narrow it down, to be honest with you. There's been so many industries, after I've watched the video, I've been like, do you know what? I kind of want to do that now.
Yeah.
But after each one, it's difficult to narrow it down, if I'm honest with you. All of them are so successful as well.
Yes.
So it's really interesting.
It was good when we had Ash on earlier, who got away with a gold medal in the WorldSkills UK, the best bricklayer
in the
world. Yeah, that's such an amazing accolade.
Absolutely.
So you've been involved in WorldSkills. Why do you think their mission is so important?
Because I think when it comes to apprenticeships and technical pathways, some people don't necessarily hold them up to the same prestige as the university route. And of course, education's evolving, it's changing all the time. So we really should embrace this as an opportunity for what it is, that it's really, you can learn the knowledge, but then also apply it physically whilst you're actually learning the job. So I'd probably say there's so many more advantages to it. So it's really important we just embrace that and share that with everyone so they can make those decisions really.
Absolutely. And there have been some great questions being asked today on the chat function. What do you wish somebody had told you when you were kind of first starting out on your career path?
To be honest, I feel like it would have been really useful if I'd had the knowledge of apprenticeships probably prior to going through the college route. At least so that I maybe wouldn't have been so unaware of that beforehand, so I wouldn't have had, you know, the struggles I did trying to quickly, you know, come up with a decision of where I wanted to go, what I needed to do, all these things I needed to, you know, all the requirements that were needed of me, because then maybe I would have probably not had all that stress initially and stumbled upon it, you know.
Well, I guess that's why this event is so important, you know, getting that information out there. So what resources do you think people should be looking out for?
Oh, there's so many apprenticeship providers out there for each and every sector and industry you can think of. So definitely make sure you're looking for those and sharing those as well, because again, you might stumble upon something that someone else could really use as well.
That is a good point.
Also to check out the WorldSkills UK one, just because obviously with them embracing all the different professions that there are, it's a really good area to come to actually see what is available and where you can take it.
WorldSkillsUK.org.
Definitely.
That's the one. Brilliant. Look, Tanika, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You've been amazing, and we're going to have you back tomorrow?
Yes, you are.
Amazing. All right, well, I will see you then. But that is it for day one of our Spotlight Talks. Big thank you to everyone who has made this happen, especially our sponsors, who we're going to have up on the screen now. Let's see our sponsors. Yes, there they are. We've got the Royal Navy, GSK, National Fire Chiefs Council, CSL, Apprentices Fire and Security we spoke to earlier, Skills for Security, the NHS, amazing, Texacom Academy, Science Council, and HIK Vision. Thank you so much. You guys have helped make this whole thing a reality. Thank you as well to everybody who has taken part in our sessions, all the inspiring businesses and role models, but most of all, thanks to you, everyone who is watching from wherever you are. These sessions are all about you, and we really hope that you've enjoyed them. If there's any content that you might have missed or you'd like to watch again, every session will be available on demand on our website very soon. So please go to www.worldskillsuk.org for that and lots of other exciting content to inspire young people. Oh, and don't forget, there is a survey at the bottom of the browser that you can fill out to give us some more feedback. And if you do it, you'll be entered into a prize draw to win a £100 Amazon voucher. Okay, that's it from us. Have a great rest of your day, guys. We'll be back here at 9 a.m. tomorrow with lots more fantastic content. Hope to see you then.